Whoopah! Welcome back to Total Badness. My name's Aaron. This here is a review for It Chapter 2. Oh, it's the second part. Oh, watch out, he's gonna get ya. This film takes place 27 years after the first chapter. All the kids are grown up in the Losers Club. They're all big kids, and I think that's adults. And they're all off doing grown-up things. We've got Bill Hader's character, he's a stand-up comedian. We've got James McAvoy's character, who he's a writer. And the girl of the bunch, Jessica Chastain, she has an abusive husband. But she looks like she's also rich, so there's that. But honestly, what they do for a living and who they get beat up by on a regular basis, it doesn't really come into it. So they all return home because It, played by Bill Skarsgård, is back. Pennywise the clown is back terrorizing and killing little children. So the Losers Club comes back together to defeat Pennywise after 27 years since the last time they defeated Pennywise. And you can sum up this movie in a couple of words, and those words are mostly fun. The first hour of this movie is fine. It's okay. They have to set up where all the characters are now and how they get back together. It makes sense that they had to do it. It just kind of drags. I feel like they could have cut like an hour out of this movie, honestly. There's one section of the movie where they kind of all have to split up and go on a bit of a quest. And it really only exists just to have multiple different fucked up encounters with It. And some of those quests have flashback scenes to encounters of It when they were kids. But you know they grew up. They survived those encounters with It. So there's no real tension there. You know they're gonna be fine. So it's like, how did you get out of this situation, kid? A lot of those encounters do sort of rely on jump scares too, which is, it's just what I hate about modern horror movies, is this reliance on jump scares. There's no real tension, and they just go, oh, well, we'll just throw in a million jump scares just to spook you or something. I don't know. There's not a million jump scares. Over the course of the 3 hours of this movie, there's maybe like 20. There is a lot, actually. Maybe not 20. Let's just say like 8. I don't know. So yeah, the movie's not especially scary, but it does succeed in one area, and that is it's fucking funny. Bill Hader's character especially is fantastic. Bill Hader steals this movie easily, which is saying a lot because this is a movie with James McAvoy, and James McAvoy is one of the best actors these days, but his character in this movie is just not great. James McAvoy in this movie is probably one of the worst parts of the movie. Not because of James McAvoy, but just because of how much his character has to do, which is almost nothing. Which is strange because his character, like the child in the first movie, had a lot to do. And so they get James McAvoy, and they're like, you've got nothing to do, but you're James McAvoy, so cool. But he does what he can with what he's given, and all the characters, all the actors do a great job in the movie. James Ransone, who takes over from Jack Dylan Grazer, is great. That's probably the best piece of casting in this movie. They look very similar, and I don't know if like maybe James Ransone is like imitating the kid, or if it's just like a perfect bit of casting. I don't know, but it's great. And the dynamic between him and Bill Hader's character is fantastic. They have a few scenes together, like playing off each other. You really get like a great comedic dynamic. And then you add in Bill Skarsgård to those scenes, and it's no words. No words for how fucking funny those scenes are. It's weird to think of Pennywise being like a funny character, because he's supposed to be scary, and he is in a few scenes. But they have so much fun with the character, and they really play up the comedy of the character, him being a clown. Not since Freddy Krueger, maybe, can I remember liking the main threat of the movie. That maybe at times you're like, I wouldn't mind if he won. That's actually not true at all. You don't want him to win. So it is a kind of crazy dynamic. So yeah, acting's great, characters are great, but it is a little let down by the length and where the story goes. How long was the first part? 134 minutes. So like 2 hours 15. Honestly, I feel like the first half should be the long one, and then the second half should be not as long. I mean, it's half an hour more than the first half. There's just certain plot lines that don't go anywhere, and certain setups for scary scenes that don't have any threat in them. They easily could have cut half an hour out of this movie, and it would be better for it, honestly. But there's already talk of them releasing an extended cut, which I don't want to see. I honestly don't. I don't give a shit. This is long enough. I don't need like a fucking 5-hour version of this movie. I don't. I mean, I doubt it would be 5 hours, but 3.5 hours or something. Like, that's ridiculous. Crazy. I have to say, though, that the last hour of this movie is fantastic. It's genuinely a lot of fun. I was definitely not bored during that hour. There's just these little moments during it where it's just like, that's so fucking good. Another thing to mention is that you can obviously tell that they had a budget with this one. There are a lot of CG effects. I wish some of them were more practical, because at some point it turns into a Marvel movie, which I love. I love Marvel movies, but this is a different type of movie, and it would have been nice to have maybe just a little less CG. And there's a portion of this movie that is a straight up cartoon, like Looney Tunes, like a Looney Tunes cartoon. I don't mean that it turns animated all of a sudden. I mean, like, the actors are in a scene and it's very cartoonish with what's happening with the music and sound effects and all. It's this. I guess I could equate it to. Actually, now that I think about this, there's a couple of scenes that I would call cartoonish, like Drag Me to Hell or Cabin in the Woods type cartoonish comedy with horror. Gremlins 2. Yeah, it goes off the rails at points, and those are the best moments. There's one scene that feels like it's just lifted from a different movie, and you're left just going, what the fuck did I just watch? And it's amazing. So many little moments like that in this movie, and it's great. All up, this movie is fantastic. Like, the first hour drags, but I can forgive it for that because it's a necessary thing. It has to be there. It's just that the quest part of the movie that I feel is just useless. Everything around it is okay to fucking great. And all up, like, this, yes, like, if you saw the first one, definitely see this one. But I feel like if you haven't seen the first one, you could probably see this and enjoy it. I haven't watched the first one again since the first time I seen it, so I'm going to watch it again because I need to be reminded of if it was as wacky as this one, because I don't think it was. Like, just a crazy big budget loony. This is Gremlins 2, like, in horror form. Like, full horror form. Maybe not that crazy. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but it's getting there. it's definitely getting there. It's just like Warner Brothers was like, hey, we're going to give you lots of money to follow up that first one, okay? So you just do whatever, because you did a great job. And they were just like, let's just go fucking nuts. And that's rare these days, to just have a company... This is Warner Brothers, though, I guess. They funded a whole bunch of not great DC Zack Snyder movies, so I guess they just don't mind throwing cash away every now and then. I'm glad someone's doing it. I'm glad someone's out there trying to just make the most insane things they can with all their money. So yeah, It Chapter 2 is great. Go see it. It is badass. Thanks for watching. What did you think of It Chapter 2? Leave it in the comments below, and give us a like, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time.